One Zambia, one nation. Good evening and welcome to the news at 18 hours on TV2 with me, Jack Mwale. A look at the headlines. Vice President Inonge Wina says President Edgar Lungu is awaiting a detailed report on alleged corrupt practices by some ministers before he can take action. All the Lusaka City Council councillors have asked President Edgar Lungu to intervene in the issue of emoluments. Zambia is on the verge of being fined if it fails to send a team for the Regional 5 Games set for Angola next month. Here now are the details. Vice President Inonge Wina says President Edgar Lungu is awaiting a detailed report on alleged corrupt practices by some ministers before he can take action. Mrs. Wina says President Edgar Lungu cannot act on hearsay and will therefore wait for investigative wings to finish their work. Speaking in Parliament today during the Vice President's question time, Mrs. Wina said it would be wrong to paint every minister as corrupt before the investigations are completed. Details in this report.
It's just under a week since President Edgar Lungu warned that he would soon fire some ministers and government officials if allegations of corruption leveled against them are true. In Parliament, the matter came up again through Mazabuka Central Member of Parliament, Gary Nkombo, during the Vice President's question time.
I would like to find out from Her Honor the Vice President, in the face of this revelation, and considering that the ministers, apart from the 3 that were sworn in on this particular day, are suspects of this corruption that the President spoke about.
The Vice President indicated that the matter requires serious investigations before any action can be taken.
We cannot act on hearsay. The President has instructed the investigative wings to look into this issue to ascertain whether some of his ministers are involved in corrupt practices.
And Milanzi Member of Parliament, Whiteson Banda, also asked Mrs. Wina why action has not been taken against those found wanting in the Auditor General's latest report, and this was the Vice President's response.
The Auditor General has no powers at the moment to order the arrest of ailing officers. But a memorandum of understanding has been signed between the law enforcement agencies and the Auditor General's office to ensure that those that are found wanting will be penalized by the law.
During the Vice President's question time, Mrs. Wina disclosed that government is in talks with the private sector on partnering in the installation of toll gates on economical roads. This followed a question from Kwacha Member of Parliament, Joe Malanji, who wants toll gates to be built on the Ndola Kitwe dual carriageway.
In the President's speech to the guidance to this House, the desire to explore the avenue of public-private partnership was in black and white. There are so many accidents on Ndola Lusaka Road. Even as I was coming, the truck belonging to Jack Mwimbu, delivering animals to Koabelt, hit a very small vehicle. Your Honor.
Honorable Member for Kwacha. Honorable Member for Kwacha.
And this was the Vice President's response.
Government is already in discussions with some contractors that want to partner with government to build roads. So, Mr. Speaker, we will see a lot of activity and development in the road sector in the next few years to come, and in other sectors of the economy as we partner with the private companies.
The Vice President further assured the nation that government will soon release a roadmap on how the Barroso Land Agreement will be handled. Michael Kaumba, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
Chief Justice Irene Mambelema has urged the Director of Public Prosecution to address delays in prosecuting matters in the courts of law. Justice Mambelema says stakeholders must take delays in dispensing justice must make it a thing of the past. Justice Mambilima said this during the admission to the inner bar of Attorney General Likando Kalaluka and Director of Public Prosecution Lilian Siyunyi. Here's a report.
Attorney General Likando Kalaluka and Director of Public Prosecution Lilian Siyunyi have today been admitted to the inner bar by Chief Justice Irene Mambilima. The ceremony is conducted for lawyers who have been appointed as state counsel by the head of state. Once administered, a legal practitioner is now free to sit in front of the court. And this reporter was given special permission by Chief Justice Irene Mambilima to film the inside of the courtroom. Today's ceremony was administered by Chief Justice Irene Mambilima, who congratulated Mrs. Siyunyi and Mr. Kalaluka. The Chief Justice used the opportunity to appeal to the DPP to address delays by the state in prosecuting matters in court. DPP Lilian Siyunyi is happy that she has been admitted to the inner bar.
It's an important milestone in my life. It will boost my confidence, it will make me work harder, to prove myself. I've always worked harder, but this will be like putting in 110%. Okay. My office is the work in my office is very tedious, it's challenging, but we overcome it. We are also tough. When the going gets tough, we also get tougher.
Law Association of Zambia President Linda Kasonde said that it is good that Mrs. Siyunyi has been conferred with the status of state counsel.
Moving in the right direction, so we welcome them formally being called to the inner bar. And of course we welcome particularly the Director of Public Prosecutions as the first female Director of Public Prosecutions, and now she's the second female state counsel who is practicing at the bar.
Those in attendance later went for a photo session with the Chief Justice.
Now, the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, has arrested a Lusaka businessman for fraud involving 58,000 kwacha. Joseph Mutale, 40, a businessman of Libala South, has been arrested for impersonation of a person named in a certificate, obtaining of credit by false pretenses, and uttering of false documents contrary to the laws of Zambia. DEC Public Relations Officer Triza Katongo says it is alleged that Mutale on 31st of May 2016 jointly and whilst acting together with other persons unknown with intent to defraud did impersonate Frederick Walia, a quantity surveyor at the Ministry of Works and Supply. Ms. Katongo said Mutale allegedly uttered false documents, which included payslips, a forged national registration card (NRC), bank statements from a named bank, and an introductory letter from the Ministry of Works and Supply Human Resource Department. She explains that Mutale used the forged documents to obtain a loan by false pretenses amounting to 58,000 kwacha by purporting to be a public officer under the mentioned ministry when in fact not. Meanwhile, Ms. Katongo says 2 small-scale farmers in Eastern Province have been arrested for trafficking in cannabis. She says Pascali Piri, 32, of Kajiwa village, and Andrew Mutonga, 45, of Chipagirika village in Lundazi district, have been arrested and jointly charged for trafficking in 87.2 kilograms of loose cannabis concealed in polythene sacks. The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, is working with the Road Transport and Safety Agency, RATSA, to track down vehicles that entered the country illegally. ZRA Commissioner Customs Services Division, Dingani Banda, says this is aimed at encouraging people to clear their vehicles with the authority. Mr. Banda said this when he featured on TV2's News and Current Affairs Morning Live program.
Now, a manual document, a customs clearance certificate is a manual document, and you know the environment in which we are. People can forge degrees. What can stop them forging customs clearance documents? So people may end up forging such documents and so forth. But we've been working very closely as government institutions, including with RATSA, whereby now we're saying, RATSA writes to us, say, we have this list of vehicles. Can you confirm with ZRA whether these vehicles were cleared? And in some cases, we find that those vehicles are not in our database. We have cases from the police where police write to us. These vehicles, we're investigating them. Can you confirm if they pay taxes? We find that these vehicles are not in our database. So it's a realization that there is this problem out there. There are people who issued customs import permits and they expired. And some of them write to us that, look, I've got this permit, it expired, I want to clear the vehicle. So rather than for us to go out with a draconian stick and instantly start pouncing on the vehicles, we said out of goodwill, out of good faith, let's give people benefit of doubt. Let's give people this period, 1 month period, where they should voluntarily come forward and account for these vehicles. And we're promising, it's a promise we're keeping, we're not going to charge the penalties and interest as the law already provides for the Commissioner General to waive those components.
12 grade 7 pupils aged between 13 and 15 of Chamuka Primary School in Chief Chamuka of Samba District have failed to sit for their grade 7 examinations this year due to early marriages and teen pregnancies. Chief Chamuka of the Lenja-speaking people of Samba District has since issued a stern warning against the perpetrators of early marriages and teenage pregnancies, saying the law would not spare anyone who hinders the progress of the girl child's education in his chiefdom. He was speaking at his palace yesterday during a meeting where he gathered women and stakeholders that included law enforcement agencies from his chiefdom who met to share experiences on the gender-based violence issues in their communities. And Central Province Permanent Secretary Daisy Ngambi said government has put up stringent measures to curb cases of early marriages and teenage pregnancies in rural areas of Central Province and the entire country. Meanwhile, Samba District Commissioner Martin Chowa said his district, through the various stakeholders and law enforcement agencies, has targeted a large rural community to empower with information and education on how to report cases of gender-based violence in their communities. We take our first commercial break. Still to come on the news, ARB says there has been no application to revise electricity tariffs. These and many more stories still coming up. Keep watching. And after the rest of the news, Minister of Community Development, Emerin Kabanshi, says government is determined to increase the number of people on the social cash transfer scheme. Ms. Kabanshi says the program will also target women and young girls. She says government will use resources served from subsidies to improve the welfare of everyone, including the vulnerable in society. Ms. Kabanshi said this when she featured on TV2's News and Current Affairs Morning Live program.
Women Empowerment and Livelihood Project, Jewels. We are targeting 75,000 women. And these women will be in 52 districts. In those districts where we are not doing the microcredit program, where we give small loans. And these women will be empowered with 2,500 kwacha. And they'll be trained in some skills and also financial literacy. And they'll be mentored so that they are helped in improving their livelihood. And that is going to help them also not to marry off their children early. What we want is to empower the women so that the food security at household level is improved. You know very well that most of the people who are engaged in agriculture are women. And when you empower them, it means that we'll have more women going into agriculture, and the food security at household level will even be better.
Now, all the Lusaka City Council councillors have asked President Edgar Lungu to intervene in the issue of emoluments. Speaking on behalf of the councillors, Kapwepwe Ward 25 Councillor Patrick Salubusa said the councillors are disappointed with local government Permanent Secretary Amos Malupenga over his sentiments on the emoluments. Delphista Lungu has details in this report.
The issue of councillors' salaries has continued to make headlines. The councillors feel their noble duty is one that deserves a salary. According to the civic leaders, they have a huge responsibility that consumes a lot of their time. They fully understand that they have to provide services in line with the decentralization policy. They believe for them to provide effective services, a salary should be provided to the civic leaders. They have since petitioned President Edgar Lungu to intervene and translate the provisions of the councillors under the new constitution.
As councillors under Lusaka City Council, we have petitioned this cause to our listening President, His Excellency Mr. Edgar Lungu, for his urgent intervention, and him being a lawyer, he may understand the dictates of the constitution herein. We know 100% that is a listening president and is going to respond to our petition.
On Tuesday, 1st November 2016, local government minister Vincent Mwale said it is difficult for councillors to be on salary because they are part-time workers. Mr. Mwale, however, indicated that an increment on their allowance is being considered. The councillors are demanding that the central government puts them on a salary because they are also state officers.
From the councillor. Council committees have also increased because of the devolved functions, and therefore a councillor will be required to be in the ward 24/7.
Under the new constitution, one needs to have a grade 12 certificate to contest as a councillor. Teofista Lungu, TV2 News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, local government minister Vincent Mwale has called on the councillors to speak through the local government association for the sake of order. Mr. Mwale says the councillors have an institution that speaks on their behalf, and the ministry has met local government association over the issue, which is still under discussion. Speaking in a telephone interview today, the minister said the councillors should have exhausted the right channel before petitioning the president. The National Housing Authority, NHA, has begun to pay its workers, addressing a backlog of more than 7 months arrears. Management has so far managed to pay off 2 months' salary arrears and education allowance. Zambia Congress of Trade Unions ZCTU Deputy Secretary General Elaston Jovo is calling on the government to recapitalize the institution in order for it to operate smoothly. Details in this report.
These are pictures captured in September. They gathered here in numbers, angry, expectant and broke. But after months without pay, all that the National Housing Authority workers got from this meeting in September were promises from management and a call for calm from the unions. Both bitter pills to swallow.
Are you sincere? School children aren't going to school. We have to eat, so how can we sustain ourselves from today to the other day?
Now management has started to pay the workers, but not all the salary arrears have been released to them.
I've been informed by the management of NHA to say that they are now paying the arrears, albeit suffice to say that the arrears have been paid just for 2 months. We had requested adding a voice to our members that it would have been better if management just paid the arrears in full.
ZCTU is calling for the recapitalization of the institution for it to get back on its feet.
We appeal to the government to consider recapitalizing NHA, because these problems cannot be blamed on management and the way they are running. When we did our own investigations, it became very clear that there's been successive management teams put in place. So the current one is basically saying, look, give us a chance. We can do better than what we are doing.
Management has managed to cough up less than half of what is owed to the workers. The situation is clearly that of unfinished business. Penlopsi Kazwe, TV2 News, Lusaka.
The Energy Regulation Board, ERB, has distanced itself from a notice circulating on social media calling for comments on a purported application to revise electricity tariffs. ERB Public Relations Manager Kwali Mfune says there has been no application to revise the electricity tariffs. Ms. Mfune says the ERB has not issued any notice for public comments contrary to information circulating on social media. She has since urged the public to remain calm and disregard any notices issued through unofficial channels. This is contained in a statement issued to ZNBC News in Lusaka today. We go for another break. Still to come, sports and international news. We're back in a moment. Good to have you back. And in sports news, Sports Minister Moses Mawere says the former Football Association of Zambia Vice President Lusaka should be supported to contest as FIFA committee member. Mawere says Zambia needs to support all its citizens that want to vie for positions in various global associations. He says the intention by Lusaka is welcome and good not only for himself but the country as a whole. However, Mawere says he is hopeful that tomorrow's FAS Executive Committee meeting will resolve to support Lusaka's candidature as FIFA committee member. And lastly, Zambia is on the verge of being fined $50,000 United States by the African Union Sports Council if it fails to send a team for the Regional 5 Games set for Angola next month. Zambia is expected to send 36 athletes in football, judo, boxing and physical games. But Team Zambia is not yet in camp because the Ministry of Finance has not yet released funds for the preparations and campaign of the team. Katri Shiwalia now reports.
Zambia's participation at the African Union Sports Council Region 5 Games hangs in balance. Zambia is expected to send a total of 36 athletes for the games that begin on December 9th to December 19th, 2016. But with about a month to go before the games, the Zambian team is yet to go in camp. This is because the Ministry of Finance has not released funds for the camping and preparations of the team. Should Zambia fail to send a team, the country will be fined more than $50,000 United States dollars. The Zambian team is, however, expected to go in camp on November 14th at the Center of Excellence.
We haven't yet been funded, but we are still hopeful that they will fund soon because these are government games. And we are expected to participate, whether we have funding or not. Yeah, the Zimbabwean games, we had about 56 athletes. This time we are 36 because, we have had challenges as a country financially. So we were advised to scale down to reduce the team size to the minimum allowable, which is 36.
And government has targeted that each athlete should win at least one medal.
Meetings we've had with the athletes and the coaches, we are actually anticipating at least one medal per athlete for the individual sports codes. And of course for the football team we're expecting a medal. We are defending, so either we get the gold or whatever, but we have to come with a medal from there too.
Zambia is a defending champion in football and will send athletes in judo, boxing, football and physical sport. This is a similar Zone 6 tournament that the country hosted in 2012. Katishi Wadia, TV2 Sport in Lusaka.
Well, we can only wish Team Zambia good luck. As we end the news, a recap of the headlines. Vice President Inonge Wina says President Edgar Lungu is awaiting a detailed report on alleged corrupt practices by some ministers before he can take action. Mrs. Wina says President Lungu cannot act on hearsay and will therefore wait for investigative wings to finish their work. All the Lusaka City Council councillors have asked President Edgar Lungu to intervene in the issue of emoluments. Speaking on behalf of the councillors, Kapwepi Ward 25 Councillor Patrick Salubusa said the councillors are disappointed with local government permanent secretary Amos Malupenga over his sentiments on their emoluments. And lastly in the news, Zambia is on the verge of being fined $50,000 United States dollars by the African Union Sports Council if it fails to send a team for the Regional 5 Games set for Angola next month. Zambia is expected to send 36 athletes in football, judo, boxing and physical games. The sports item brings us to the end of the news at 18 hours. Be sure to make a date with us on the main news at 20 hours tonight. On behalf of everybody else in the studios, my name is Jack Marley. Thank you for watching and God bless you. Bye-bye.